Mr. Greg. It is actually his birthday today. He's a young 73 years old this year.
Yeah. As shown by the thumbnail, how fantastically old I am using AI. Which I will say, don't look too bad. Just grayer and older looking. Not bad. Not bad. I will I'll take it. I'll take it. And thank you. Yes. Today is the birthday. I have I'm very French, so I have a glass of wine and I'm just chilling.
So how does it feel?
Uh the same. It's like it's just another day. And so at what I was trying to think, did I like what point was it just like, oh yeah, I don't really give a shit about birthdays anymore? I think it was like my mid-30s. I'm just like, meh. It's another day. I'll go celebrate with people on some other day. It's fine. Whatever.
Yeah, they tend to be just another day.
Yeah.
Once the birthdays start with a 4. Um,
Yeah, pretty much. This
and
is
it,
my second birthday with a 4, so I'm just like, yeah, meh, whatever.
yep, I will.
I worked all day today.
In about a month, not actually, in exactly a month, it'll be the big 4 deuce for this idiot.
Yep, that's right. That's right. You are exactly 11 months older than me.
Best 11 months of my life.
The 11 that you don't remember, literally at all.
True. At
Yes,
any rate, we actually have news of interest to people.
we do, and it's news that I chose that isn't involving a crossover. So Chad's very happy about that.
Yes. Well, it sort of involves a crossover if you think about it, but
Well, I mean, you could involve a crossover in the conversation, sure.
tilt your camera down too. By the way, you look, you think you're low. No, other way.
Is that better? Can you see just the top half of my face now?
Yes, those cold, dead eyes.
How is that? Is that any better?
Yes, much. Steve, what's going on? Steve, witches,
Steve Witches.
wishes Greg a happy birthday.
Thank you, Steve. Appreciate you, brother.
Um,
I'm getting to chat now so I can actually like see what you guys are saying.
yes. Greg is good at this. For the last, I don't know how many streams he's been on here, he's been operating without chat.
That's right.
Hey, Kate,
Thank you,
how's it
Steve.
going?
Thank you, Sean. Chad says hi.
Hi.
Did Kate? Oh,
What?
golden
She's still
opportunity.
here.
Golden opportunity. I need to text Kate. Run in and give Greg a birthday punch.
He says, "Run in and give me a birthday punch."
But when he's not expecting it.
But when I'm not expecting it, ah,
And that'll help.
she's strong. That actually hurt.
Well, most women have tiny little hands, so it's like that PSI when they actually catch the.
Yeah, Kate's strong. She lifts and does exercises and stuff. So that one hurt.
I need to start doing that.
Thank you for the birthday wish, Sean. Appreciate it. And Steve. And I saw you before, but I don't know if the one to Sean got through. So thank you guys. Appreciate it. But yeah, we have news that's actually interesting.
Moderately
Moderately.
interesting. So, Greg, what are we
Yes.
going to talk about?
Well, I mean, I think the first thing should be the cover image here. Apparently, according to Forbes,
You're old.
and what's that?
You said it, the cover image. Yeah.
Oh yeah, the news is I am catastrophically old now. No, apparently, according to Forbes, and I don't know how true is this, but apparently the author's name is Peter Lyon, and right in the byline, he's based in Tokyo and writes about the car industry. So this is about as close to Toyota as you can physically get. He is based in Tokyo. But what he says is, and writes in the article, is no more BMW parts as Toyota opts to build a Supra with 400 horsepower. Now, what that means is Toyota is going to be using its own stuff. And it literally says, to begin with, Toyota will no longer be flirting with BMW when building the GR Supra. According to Japan's best-selling car magazine called Best Car, the all-new sixth-generation model is expected in 2027, and it's going to be powered by a Toyota-built four-cylinder turbocharged 2-liter hybrid, still pumping out around 400 horsepower. And of course, that's going to be replacing the aforementioned BMW inline six, the B58 motor, which is made by Magna Steyr, which we know is a biblically good engine, can take a lot of power. Tons of people have done builds on them. It was I would say, honestly, a very worthy successor to the 2JZ modernized in that sense. I mean, it's obviously not a Toyota engine, but it held power. It was turbocharged. There is a lineage in the sense of it kept with the ethos of what the Mark IV Supra wanted to be. But now, apparently, allegedly, that is now going away in 2027 when they said that this is going to happen. Now, there was news. There was news a couple of weeks, if not maybe 1 or 2 months ago, that had said that Toyota was really interested in doing another Supra, but they really didn't put a timeline on it, and that another one would be coming. We just didn't know when that would happen. Apparently, that's going to be sooner rather than later, because as we all know, the gap between the Mark IV and the Mark V was 20 years. So it was a long time coming for that one. But this one is going to be a lot shorter, allegedly. Based on that news, Chad, your thoughts?
Nah.
Well, I mean, I guess a couple questions for you then. Are you happy that Toyota's making its own thing now? And two, are you upset that it's going to be a four-cylinder 2-liter hybrid? Of course, this is none of this is really confirmed, but this is what the article is saying. So we'll just take it as at face value that this is what it's going to be.
So my thoughts on this is the whole reason there was the BMW, whatever, dalliance, collaboration, whatever the hell you want to call it, was that the head of Toyota, or the guy in charge of the Supra project, is that the straight six engine is the core of a Supra. Right? So one thing led to another, and instead of just the engine, it was a BMW Z4 in drag. So, look, I'm on board with Toyota doing their own stuff, but I'm sorry, man. I can't. We've seen this time. Mercedes has learned this lesson a very, very hard way, in that nobody really cares or wants or has desire for a four-cylinder hybrid. Look, is it good that Toyota wants to bring back the Supra sooner rather than later? Yes, it's an enthusiast car, and whatever the powertrain, we can at least hold our head on. Oh God, that was a mistake. Oh, there we go. They're even. So yeah, it's cause for celebration to have another sports car, for companies to be thinking about sports cars, for people like us who are enthusiasts, who oftentimes, as we'll get to, the stuff we like gets axed first. So that's the positive here, is that Toyota is like, we're going to do another Supra. Don't know when, but it's going to be sooner than 30 some odd years, or 20 years, or whatever it was, 98 to whenever it was. But that being said, all right, so there's two schools of thoughts of thinking about this. Number one, the whole concept of the Supra was to be Japan's pony car. They literally, when they were doing, especially the Mark IV, the whole ethos behind it was to be that sort of 2+2 Japanese Mustang, for lack of a better way of putting it. And then you had the Mark V, which was more of a sports car, which okay, lighter, theoretically speaking. Um, more purpose built, more with purpose built as opposed to trying to be again a pony car. And then going hybrids are heavy. All right, like there's no two ways around it. The hybrid powertrains are heavy, and I would sooner rather them. I don't know if they're still making it. We're still waiting to see what's powering that Halo sports car that they're working on. We know it's a V8. We don't know if it's a brand new V8 or if it's an evolution of the 2UR V8 that's powered your F cars, your ISF, GSF, RCF, ISF Performance, IS500F Performance. Like why they didn't call it F, I don't know, but whatever.
Yeah, who knows?
I just personally believe, and I said this about the Mark V Supra, and I'll say it again, they don't need to reinvent the wheel here. If they were to come out with something that is similarly sized to the current Supra, with a 2UR powering it, they would have a license to print money.
Mm-hmm.
That thing would fly off of showroom floors. It's arguably, in my estimation, the 2UR is neck and neck, at worst case, even with the 2J, as far as best engines Toyota's ever made.
I would agree with that.
But a 4-cylinder turbocharged hybrid does nothing. Like, it's one thing to sit here and say that, yeah, we're going to give the BRZ or GR86, we're going to give that 300 turbocharged 4-cylinder horsepower. Enthusiasts of those cars are probably going to tap dance down the street naked in joy.
Correct.
But for the Supra, I don't know. A 4-cylinder just doesn't cut it for me. It's not exciting enough. It's not special enough. You could say what you will about a straight six not exactly being a special engine since it powers so many different types of things. Shit. The Cummins in Rams for years, heavy duty Rams, is technically a straight six. So
yeah, but you can make the same argument for V8s too. There are a billion V8s that are uninspired and super boring and have absolutely no power. I mean, look at what was getting put out in the 70s and 80s.
Right. Well,
but I agree with that point in the sense of like the 4-cylinders are less exciting. A six or an 8 in the right application are just more exciting. Period.
And I honestly, if you put a 2UR again, I don't know if the 2UR, if the factory is still building them. Yeah, they have to be because the IS500 is still a thing. And you would have a better time justifying the whatever $60,000 to $80,000 price tag this thing is going to command, because all that, it's going to be on the expensive side.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm chucking out that kind of money, I don't want a 4-cylinder. I want a exciting engine. I'd even rather them use the BMW engine again, just in their own chassis. I don't know, obviously, with like licensing agreements and all that other sort of stuff, whether that's even possible or not. But in a perfect world, they right the wrongs of the Mark V. They basically sit here and say, okay, if this report is true, we're building a 100% Toyota, Toyota engineered, Toyota parts Supra with a Toyota engine and everything. And if it's a 4-cylinder hybrid, it's going to be like, that's great. Ugh.
Yeah.
Whereas, again, now, like I said, if they're discontinuing the 2UR, if the factory doesn't make them anymore, or by the time this comes out, the factory's slated to not build them anymore, I kind of understand it. But then again, whatever the engine in the GT that we all thought was a Lexus, that Toyota insists on calling a Toyota GT project, which does nothing to confuse the living F out of everyone. Even that, I mean, you have the block casting, you have the head casting. Doesn't take a shit ton of engineering to do NA heads versus what we assume is boosted in the GT. and still make 400 horsepower pretty damn easily.
That's true.
You know, modern ECU, modern technology, modern fuel and stuff, you can run a 12-to-1 compression V8 pretty damn easily. Unless it's my Mustang and decides to shit itself. But
Different
it's just
story.
like to, to, Toyota has to understand what people were upset about was the fact that the Mark V Supra was a BMW Z4 with a Toyota body on it and some chassis tuning. But really, what separated it was nothing. They were effectively the same cars. They just looked slightly different.
Right.
You know, now that it's their own design, they presumably don't have to worry about meeting BMW hard points for the body. Son of a bitch, give us the FT1 like everybody wanted. Make it have an interesting engine, and go from there. Because I guarantee you, everyone who's going to look at a new Super, like, it's turbocharged 4-cylinder hybrid. It's like, yay! And then in 3 years, it'll be done again because they, you know, look at the cars that come with exciting engines. They seem to stay around for a while. Even the Mark V. People didn't like that it was a BMW, but it stuck around for a while.
Yep, sure did.
Because that engine was so good. So, yeah, I mean, like, just to recap, great that Toyota's thinking about another sports car. It's always exciting when you hear a manufacturer talk about that sort of stuff. But they just don't seem to be getting the memo.
Yeah, agree. I mean, and like you said at the beginning, this was something that Mercedes learned the hard way because they just had that whole snafu about the E-Class, the AMG E-Class, and while their hybrid system was putting out the most powerful AMG wagon ever, no one cared. Legitimately, no one cared. They want the V8. Customers want to have the noise. It's not just about performance, and this is something that you and I have been harping on for what seems like 2 or 3 years now. The next frontier of automotive enthusiasm is not power. The power wars are over. They've been over for a while now. EVs have won the power wars because you can basically just throw an all-wheel drive on an EV and a Tesla and a 5,000-pound sedan, right? And it can go 0 to 60 in under 2 seconds because it has instant torque. That same car can be tuned via software and the appropriate motor or the appropriate electric motor to give you biblical amounts of speed. The power wars are over as soon as electrics got really performance oriented in that sense. And quite frankly, the same goes for internal combustion. Look at what Koenigsegg's doing. Like they're getting, and other companies are getting just insane power out of internal combustion because of manufacturing processes and lighter weight materials, cheaper materials, better forged materials, better data analytics. Just everything is becoming better across the board from a power standpoint. What people want is something that they can connect with. That is the big thing. The next frontier is something that you can drive really interestingly well on a road that isn't a bajillion horsepower and can handle well and is something that really speaks to the enthusiasts. Like people that want those cars are going to buy the cars that really make the most sense for them. And that's not a 2,000 horsepower EV. It's not a 2-liter hybrid powertrain. It's a V8 with less horsepower that sounds ridiculous, that can carve up a back road. So this makes total sense to me in that sense of like, I don't see this succeeding at all. I think it's going to sell less than the BMW Supra. I don't think that they're going to. I think they're going to see. I think in testing they're going to see almost no interest for it, and I predict that they either scrap the project entirely or they either scrap the project entirely or they they try to shove one of their sixes or their eights in there, and it just gets pushed out a couple years. That's my prediction. I don't know if that's really going to happen, but that's what I think will happen.
Honestly, I, I mean, whoever this dude is who wrote the article and stuff, I honestly do believe that this is exactly what it's going to come out with, because that's the way the market wants to go, and that's with all this other stuff. And there's a reason why there's never been a turbocharged FR or GR86 or any of whatever the biblical amount of freaking variants there are.
Yeah.
And it was because towards the end or during the Supra's run, they didn't want to infringe on Supra sales. Because even if you have a $400 or $40,000 GR86, still a hell of a better bargain than the $60,000 to $80,000 Supra, right?
Right. I'd prefer that car. It's going to be lighter weight, and even if it has a 4-cylinder, that's a car that a 4-cylinder should be in, like a Corolla
Right.
or WRX or a BRZ or Miata. Like, it's a lightweight, sporty, not a purebred sports car, but a lightweight sports car, sporty-ish, that deserves the power and can be a hell of a good time on a back road. A Supra is something that you can have a good time on a back road, but could also be like a track weapon if you really wanted it.
Right. It's sort of that next level. So now insert V8 into that. Is the
Right.
Supra now going to cannibalize sales for the GT? Like, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. So instead of the GT creeping up to the Supra, it's the other way around. It's the Supra. Hello, friend. It's the GT or the Supra now going backwards. Or is this sort of a precursor of them combining the platforms? Who knows? I mean, who knows?
Yeah, it's look, like I said, it's hard to get excited about a 4-cylinder hybrid. It really is.
It is. I agree.
Especially with something with the Supra. I don't mean to like be like a Supra should always be blah 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 deep to poop. But like a Supra with a 4-cylinder feels like a downgrade, even if it's faster in every conceivable way.
Yeah.
Just like, hypothetically speaking, if they made a 450 horsepower EcoBoost Mustang that technically was faster than the GTs and the Dark Horses or whatever, right? Like,
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Couldn't begin to give a fuck.
Right. Exactly.
So, and that's the thing, because Toyota was doing really, really well because they seem to have their finger on the pulse of what the enthusiast wanted,
Yeah.
right? Between the GR86 kind of being that affordable option, the GR Corolla sort of saying, hey, you finally get the fun thing that we've been giving Europe and Japan all this time.
Mm-hmm.
Even the return of the Supra was hey, we want to bring this nameplate back. They maybe miscalculated, but I don't think they did, because I think they sold a ton of them. And let's face it, most people's gripe, if you're not a Supra purist, most people's gripe with it was that it wasn't the FT1. They showed us one thing, and then they showed us it's like having an actual artist draw you a picture and then telling a 7-year-old to draw the same picture.
Yes.
It's kind of the same thing, but not.
Right.
So they were like, okay, and they focused on the wrong thing. It's like nobody liked it because it was BMW. It's like, well, yeah, that's part of it. But the biggest thing was, it wasn't what you showed us, which everybody got excited about, and it was lazy, very un-Toyota.
Right.
To have a car that they really didn't engineer. I mean, yeah, there was probably some joint engineering. Some joint engineering because of the partnership, right? Like, Toyota and BMW worked together to engineer the suspension, all this other stuff, just because they're both going to sell it. So I don't know, man. Like
Yeah.
I just everybody wants to go smaller engine with hybrid, and it's like yay. And everybody's like no, like you know.
Well, the companies are like, yay, downsizing and cheaper, and the customer's like, no. And that is sort of the point of like, I think we can probably bring up um the crossover point here is just like when companies see the profits, right? And they see everyone going towards crossovers. And then they're just like, nuke everything, just sell crossovers. They start to think that like those are the cars that everyone wants. Small turbocharged engines, blah blah blah. Like, no, that's just because that's what you're forcing down our throats.
And not
That's
for
not what people want when they want other types of cars. They don't want everything and every car out there to have a fucking four-cylinder.
And not for
That's
nothing, the people who are buying these 4 cylinders could not give less of 2 fucks
right.
what the engine is.
Right. And again, it's also the same argument for everyone going EV. Not everyone wants an EV either. Like, again, EVs have their place. They just do. They're great cars for certain applications. Not everyone wants them. Not everyone needs them either. So, like, I don't know. Give us options. Like, people want choice. We have an unending amount of choice for streaming, for entertainment, for gaming, for whatever. And yet, the second largest purchase in our lives is being shrunk more and more and more. And I'm like, stop it. Stop doing that. Give us options. People want options. The end. End rant.
Giggity giggity. Giggity goo.
Hey, I got that thing to work. Fantastic.
What thing?
So I set up a soundboard, not necessarily for the stream, but for something else. I was
Oh,
like, how do
nice.
I make this work without having Greg echo? And chat just heard it. So
Nice.
um,
Excellent.
yeah, but yeah, it's one of those things where Toyota's going to have this hot little 4 cylinder, and they're going to be chomping at the bit to put it in everything they possibly can.
Uh-huh. And again, no one's gonna want it. Put it in the Corolla, like you said. Put it in the
I don't think they need
put
to.
it in the
Just
GT.
keep the 3 cylinder is proving to be a powerhouse.
Totally. You
Put
can,
it in
but I'm
the
just-
put it in a
something less. Don't put it in a Supra.
You're bringing back the Celica. Put it in a new Celica GT4,
Yeah, hell yeah. Now you're talking.
or call it the GR4 to kind of merge, like you did the GR86, which is a play on the AE86. You know, they're said to be bringing back the MR2. Put it in the MR2. You know, like, and that's the other thing. Like their performance lineup is going to get extremely crowded here very soon.
Yeah.
And that's
Sure
that's
is.
another thing that we should probably talk about. It's like okay, like if you have an option between say the Celica or the MR2 or whatever, Corolla GR, and they all kind of have the same engine. Well, the Supra's kind of a new turn of the century Supra has kind of been there, done that. The MR2's the new hotness right now, or the Celica's the new hotness right now. Like, the 4 cylinder makes more sense there, but it's also like more buzz of a car because the Celicas, the MR2s, they all used pretty legendary 4 cylinders back in the day.
Yep. That's true. I think that kind of parlays into our next sort of topic really well because we were talking about like the shrinking of stuff too, and that was one of the things that I also wanted to talk about as well. Is now I've lost. Oh, damn it! I've lost the article, but I have it up over here. So one of the other things that's been going on is, I mean, Ford did this a while ago, right? Is they basically nuked. Thank you for sending that, Chad. I had it. They nuked their entire car line except for the Mustang, and Acura sort of has done the same thing, but they haven't really. They didn't nuke everything at first. They were kind of just doing.
Focus.
I'm trying to think of the words. they were sort of phasing it out like gradually, right? They weren't just being like, nope, here's the date, we're stopping the end. They've been sort of phasing stuff out gradually. So like the what was it? The TSX and the TL became the TLX. So that was one phase out, and that was many years ago. Then the RL sort of went by the wayside, and then they've slowly been getting rid of sedans, over the years. And apparently now the Acura TLX has officially ended production, and now it's another sedan that is going away. And the only sedan that Acura has in its lineup anymore is the Integra, which they literally just unveiled a few years ago. So now, again, we're back to another car company going towards this crossover, only lineup. Whereas, like, again, people want these other cars. Why are they just doing that? But either way, we'll get into the opinion part of it in a second. So basically, the Acura TLX is now dead. Production of the luxury sedan will end later this month, as in July and August, which means the 2025 model year will be its final one. This was a second generation TLX, but its lineage dates back to the TL, which has had the nameplate since the mid 90s. So again, it's been around for a while, and they cited declining sales as the reason for its discontinuation. Yes, obviously, because you're shoving crossovers down everyone's throat in the illusion of safety when it's really that people don't need just a lifted hatchback.
Oh, it gets better, Greg. After reading this article, it's not only the TLX will effectively be replaced in the lineup by a new SUV, a new electric SUV that adopts the RSX nameplate. Which, in case you were wondering, was the replacement to the Integra back in the day. Correct.
So now, once again, they're just doing this with the stupid badges again.
And the RSX, now an electric crossover. The Eclipse, now a crossover. Here's the thing. I think, so there's a certain, you have to look at it from like a buyer perspective, who's buying these things. Are sales declining because nobody's actually buying it, or because like you have an offering, right? The thing with the TLX that I always thought the most recent models were pretty good looking and were like begging for a rear wheel drive conversion just because it had a long swooping hood, but it was a transverse mounted engine and front wheel drive bias. It's like, oh, you were so close. But the thing is, I think, number one, I think the Integra Type S took a lot of the sales away from the TLX. TLX is bigger, it has more room, but that, I will say this, the Integra Type S is one of the best looking small sedans in a very long time.
Totally agree with that.
So Acura's always been kind of alongside Infiniti as that luxury brand, but it's sort of your entry level is not the right word, but it's sort of on the more affordable side of the luxury spectrum.
Yeah.
So in theory, that should attract young people. Younger generations now could give less of two shits about cars. So it's like, and then your older generation who does like cars have bad hips and backs and don't want a car that's easier to get into. It's just one of those things where I think eventually you're going to see, how do I phrase this? Acura goes away from the sedan because let's face it, we're not probably that far off from the Integra getting the same treatment.
Probably.
Especially if it doesn't get a pretty major refresh or redesign or what have you. And it starts to fall in line with the Infiniti side of things, right? We talked about Infiniti a couple times on the show and how Infinitis feel old. Not necessarily that they're old cars, but they just feel from a tech perspective, from a material, from a, you sit in a car that's 7 years, 10 years apart, and like the interiors, like you look at it, it's same. They're different, but they're the same. Same thing.
Same, but different, but same.
You know, so there's that thing of,
Yeah.
well, why am I paying a premium for this new car when when a 5-year-old car is the same exact thing, right?
Right.
So I think that kills a lot of it. You know, it's just weird because Acura was always kind of that funner, sportier side of luxury, of the Japanese.
Yeah.
Lexus, when they first came out, they were like, I mean, here's an IS300. It's a hell of a lot of fun. It's a great car. 215 horsepower is the most you're getting. But
Right.
nope, that's it. Right? And then everything else was sporty.
Yeah.
Good one. No. And then you look at like Infinity, and for a brief fleeting moment, they were sort of the young, fun, sporty brand with the G, right?
Yeah.
And then they were like, this is great. So we're going to make it for 10 years. Then we're going to refresh it and call it the G37, get rid of the manual, and sell that for another decade and a third, what felt like.
Yep.
Similar thing to what the Nissan Z, right? Like the 350Z, the 370 was an evolution of that, and the new Z we have now is an evolution of that.
Mm-hmm.
Consumers aren't dumb. They can feel that sort of stuff. So,
Yeah.
you know,
I think
it sucks because, like I said, Acura used to be that the Integra, the RSX, the TLs back in the day were hella fun cars.
Yeah.
The TSX, the four-door fun small car. You know, our friend Jared had one, and they were fun cars. Had a pretty pissed off K24 in it, naturally aspirated and things like that. Like they were fun, cool cars. And now I think they're making that push to being more luxury cars.
Mm-hmm.
And most people buying luxury stuff now prefer SUVs, or they just buy a Lexus sedan because you can say a Lexus sedan does not have a Toyota variant, and like
Yeah,
never-ending
true.
luxury car owner dick measuring contest down at the local country club or whatever. You know, someone can't come around and say, "Oh, you got the new TLX. That is a nice for an Accord. That is, I could not." You know, and they always have that little trump card. You
That's
can't
right.
say that about the Lexus sedans.
No, you can't. Because there is no Toyota equivalent to like any of them.
So
Not anymore.
no, so it's like, you know, I don't know. It's sad to see. I don't think we're done seeing it. Frankly, I think Genesis was a major disruptor in
Yeah.
Pacific Rim luxury. When they came into play, I think they bloodied everybody's noses. Infinity's going to be their first official confirmed kill, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Genesis, I think that's a good take. Genesis is kind of like the new Infinity. Because when Infinity came out in the 90s, everyone was like, ooh, what's that? And then when Genesis came out, everyone was like, ooh, what's that, but better. So,
Right. It's not even, I don't even think it's so much that. It's just Genesis is almost what you hoped like the evolution of Infinity became.
Yeah,
But Infinity,
exactly.
like
That's
Nissan,
sort of what I was
just
going for.
were like, yes. And now they're just,
Right.
they're done.
They plateaued and then they just fell off a cliff. Exactly.
So now though the other Japanese luxury manufacturers are scrambling because, I mean, if you take any of them, I'm looking at a Genesis first. If I have the money for a luxury, and I'm going Pacific, I'm looking at a Genesis
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong.
as a family car. If it's like you have to get a Japanese luxury car, it's like, okay, get me the IS500F Performance, and we're calling it a day. Like,
Yeah.
that's it. That like for reasons
Yeah.
we stated
End of
earlier.
story.
And then just to put a bow on it, I think there is going to be a reckoning with this SUV craze, because there's always things are popular and then what's old is new again, right? You know, look at high-rise jeans on girls, right? When we were growing up, it was not hard to spot a whale tail. Just saying.
Yep.
Nowadays, it's like hard to spot a belly button. Not that I'm actively looking, but you get the idea.
Yes, correct.
So I think eventually sedans will come back, and I think the companies that stick with it are going to be ahead of the game.
I don't think that's a bad take. I think that's pretty accurate. My interesting thing that I wanted to kind of put out, and that's kind of why I wanted to start with these two topics to begin with, is because this sort of goes along the same lines as the Supra article, in the sense of like, okay, Toyota is still pledging to make a car. They are pledging to make a car. Yes, it has a 4-cylinder, allegedly a 4-cylinder hybrid, but it's still a car. It's still a sports car that they are pledging to make, that they haven't changed that nameplate into a crossover. Not that they would, because they just had a Mark V Supra. But again, it's another company that is saying no to crossovers and actually making a sports car. Whereas Lexus, not to say that the TLX was a sports car, but again, it's another company just getting rid of a car for the sake of having another SUV. And to me, even if Toyota is making a 4-cylinder Supra hybrid, I would still rather that happen than another Toyota crossover. And this is why I feel like a lot of these car manufacturers are they're just chasing profit. And when you start to like only chase profit, because in the past, I mean, it's always been about making money, right? Let's call a spade a spade. The goal of selling cars is to make money.
Like money.
We can agree on that, because that's what it is. They want to sell cars to make money. That's just how business works, right? You sell things to make money. But I feel like when companies only do that, they sort of pigeonhole themselves into this corner of when everyone starts to see them for just basically a money shill and not making things that people actively want to buy. And it's just this bland SUV only or bland sedan only in the past, or blah, blah, blah. Like when the SUV craze came out and people that didn't adapt to at least having one in their lineup, so many car companies just floundered. And then they put an SUV in their lineup, and then they did really well. The ones that are going either all EV or all SUV are having the biggest issues. Ford has biblical quality control problems. They have no idea what they're doing from a recall perspective. They beat, and I'm going to make a reel on this either tomorrow or the next day. They have beat the record for recalls in a single year by halfway through this year. They have an all SUV fleet.
Yeah,
Lincoln,
but that
Lincoln.
Well, Lincoln is
Infinity. But most of these companies that are going all SUV are not the ones that are thriving. Interestingly enough, the ones that have some offerings in other areas are the ones that are thriving, like Toyota, like Volkswagen, like all these other that still have a few sedans, that still have a few.
I think it's time Volkswagen brought diesel back.
I agree. Dieselgate's far removed.
Make a diesel hybrid. It's like, yeah, we get 172,000 miles per gallon.
But do you agree with that? Because like, I feel that
I think I would have to see more
7 or 8 SUVs, but have a hot hatch and a sedan and a sports car for something that other people want, and maybe to bring in new customers other than, oh, great, another company that just has a bajillion SUVs. Who cares?
No, I think there's something to that, in the sense of if someone wants a 4-door sedan, they know they don't even have to go into the Ford showroom.
Right.
Right? Like, it's immediately crossed off of their list. So there's something to that, but I also... Ford's quality control, is that because they're only making crossovers and their employees are depressed and like, another crossover, just I don't. Or is it more ingrained with the fact that Ford has always had recall problems? If you haven't watched Elliot Alvis's podcast that he does with Hoovy, the most recent one they did this week was on recalls.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a shocking amount of Ford stuff from the. I won't spoil it too much, but the first ever recorded automotive recall that was en masse was for a 1918 for a Ford because of the cushioning that they were using for the seats was Spanish moss, and turns out when you dry that stuff, the mites in the Spanish moss don't go away. So people were actually getting bit by mites. And that was Ford.
Nice.
Ford was the first. They were the pioneers. So
But
my point, the point I'm making is that Ford's quality control isn't necessarily tied into the fact that they're making exclusively crossovers.
Right.
But what hurts them is that if someone wants a sedan, or is even, they may be like, you know what, I might get a crossover, but why go to Ford when I can only look at a crossover as opposed to go to Toyota where I can look at a Camry, and then if I like, the RAV4 is sitting right there. Right? So you're getting eliminated from the search because your offering isn't as complete. And I'll be perfectly honest. It would not be difficult to have a sedan chassis or even hell a crossover chassis, because they did it with the Taurus, and just offer one. That legitimately the only difference is just how tall the body is. It's not that difficult, but I don't know, like, well, your rebuttal, sir.
I don't know. I would say, going back to the Ford thing, when they started to be number one in recalls was when they went to the all SUV platform. They've been number one in recalls for the last 5 years. And as soon as they started to get rid of sedans that were leading the charge for not having recalls, they became number one, because their SUVs were the reason they've always had a high number of recalls.
It's like someone who owned an Explorer and lived through the whole Firestone debacle.
Yes, it's almost like my family did that. So, like, this is not. At Ford, it's a self-inflicted wound for sure, because their SUVs and trucks have always had recalls, and it's just the nature of what it is. Trucks less so, mostly SUVs. But what happens when you make an all SUV lineup and your biggest recalls are SUVs? I mean, it's pretty easy to see where what's happening there. I mean, I don't know. I am just of the mindset that we are getting to the point of companies basically just being like, this is your automated transport pod. Enjoy. Like, there's no diversity. There's no interesting things. There's still, and it's not like that black and white, but it is, in the next 50 years, it is going to get to that point where enthusiasm is going to be grasping for straws, I feel.
Yeah, I also think that with the whole crossover thing, and if you look at it, who's doing bad, who's doing well, I also think there was a point where they were all trying to answer the same exact question.
Mm-hmm.
How do we make a crossover in various sizes be the most economical things we can make them? And then suddenly, every single crossover looked identical to the next.
Mm-hmm. That started with the sedans. Do you remember when they did? Are you there? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you.
Everything froze for me for a second. I think that started with the sedans. Do you remember when they brought out the Fusion, and then the Legacy looked exactly the same, and the Accord looked exactly the same, and the Camry looked exactly the same, and they all were relatively the same cars, like in the mid 2000s, mid to late 2000s. Like, all the sedans started to look the same, and they sold a metric shit ton of them. I feel like all the companies were just like, ooh, we should do that, but with SUVs. And that's what we got.
Right. Well, I mean, it's distinctly possible, but like, at the end of the day, if you have nothing that differentiates yourself from the competition, other than Oh, there's another Ford recall. Funk. I'm not going there.
Yeah.
I wish they would have one more recall for ring failure in 2019 and older, newer Mustang. But
Yes.
damn it. But again, I think it goes back to if you have. Let me look at it to you this way, right? Like for the shift show last year, we went to Hot Dog Johnny's, right? But if you want a hamburger, you're not going anywhere near Hot Dog Johnny's.
Right.
However, other restaurants might be able to get a hot dog, a hamburger, whatever. So even if you're undecided on what you want, you're going to go to the place that has the more offerings. It's just human nature. So, look, I think to put a kind of pin in this, it's like I think you're seeing a few different things. Number one, I think you're seeing the generational. Young people don't want sedans anymore. They don't want stuff that could be. They don't care about fun.
No.
You know, they want something that's going to take them and their friends and the most amount of stuff from point A to point B as economically as possible, as reliably as possible. The other part is we now live in the information age. You don't have to scroll far. Like if you, let's just say you're starting to search for cars. You're looking for a new car. You're looking at Hondas. You're looking at Toyotas. You're looking at Kias, Hyundais, whatever. Guess what happens? All of that stuff gets thrown into cookies, and now every algorithm under the sun is providing you content based on your search habits. So if you're looking at Fords and it just says, "Oh, this person likes Ford. Ford does this, recall. Ford does this, recall. Ford does this." And you're not even actively researching, but you're just getting bombarded with this stuff. So that's another thing. And it's just the automotive industry for the vast majority is reactionary, not proactive. But if you look at proactive moments in the automotive industry, those things were sales phenomenons. The Mustang. In the opposite side of the spectrum, but every bit as a seller, if not a much better seller, the Ford Taurus.
Yeah, true.
The Ford Taurus was the first American car to have flush headlights. And then, wouldn't you know it, to Greg's point, everything after it, except for, ironically enough, the successor to the original Taurus, looked like a Taurus.
Yes. Exactly.
And it sold like hell. The Grand Caravan, minivan, sold like crazy. And you just keep going down and down the list. Reactionary is fine and all. I mean, say what you will about Tesla. They were the first really big electric car company. And now when you think electric car, it's starting to shift more into just being a normal thing. Car companies make electric cars now. But for a while, when you thought electric car, you thought Tesla.
Yeah.
But everybody else is reactionary, right? Everybody looks the same. Genesis comes along and has a completely different take on design. They suddenly become very popular.
Yep. True.
So but everybody else is just reacting, and what's selling? Crossovers. I do think in the next 5 to 10 years, you will see a switch back to a sedan-based market, just because someone's going to come up with a clever way to differentiate them from crossovers that isn't just don't buy another egg-shaped bleh. Buy something interesting. Most people are like, I do not give a fuck. It's not offensive to look at. It hauls my stuff. When someone figures out that next thing that's going to drive the market.
Yep. Yeah,
So,
I agree. I think that that's a great take, and I completely agree with that because I don't know if it'll be 5 years. I feel like it'll be 10 to 15.
well, right, just
But I think it's going to happen.
because the cars for the next 7 years have already started development
Right,
as we speak.
exactly. So
So,
I think you're right. I think it'll end up happening, but I think it'll be like 10 to 15. But I think that you're 100% correct.
so before we go into our next, um, what's the things that we talk about topic?
News topic? Yes.
Before we hop into that, I have to go. My house got ridiculously warm all of a sudden. Like generally speaking, I'm comfortable in a hoodie downstairs.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of warm now, and I don't know if it's coming across, but I'm getting quite shiny.
You're just we're talking about being old. You're just having a hot flash.
Yeah, whatever. Change of life. I'm becoming barren, God willing.
Bring on the menopause, please.
Just start uncontrollably sobbing and lashing out at Greg. But in my absence, let's see here. What's a good sort of shock topic I can give Greg that'll be entertaining for me and me alone?
Oh God.
Okay. A car that was discontinued before. We'll keep it with the birthday theme.
Mm-hmm.
A car that didn't exist. So if the car existed in your lifetime, it's excluded from this. You have to pick a car to bring back that is, that wasn't around, that hasn't been around in your lifetime.
Wait, I'm sorry. My internet's cutting out again. Could you repeat that one more time?
Okay. Pick a car to bring back from the pages of history. So, for example, a Model A,
Okay.
some random ass Duesenberg, a Volvo P1800.
Coffin nose cord.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
But a car from the pages of history that had already been discontinued before you were born.
Ooh, that had been discontinued before I was born. Okay. Interesting. So, okay, pre-1984. Okay. All right.
Good luck and Godspeed.
Oh, wait. Point of clarification. Can it be something that is still in production as a lineage of said thing that was discontinued earlier? For example, a Mustang. The original Mustang is no longer in production, obviously, but there's a new Mustang.
The nameplate. So think like AMC. Like
okay, got it. So I can't be like, oh, C1 Corvette.
No.
Got it.
The car, the nameplate, whatever.
Yes.
The car ceased to be a thing before you graced the world with your presence.
Okay. All right. Got it.
Have fun.
Okay, so this is an interesting topic. The secret, a secret about me and cars is I don't really know a lot about older cars. For example, what the cars that Chad was talking about, Duesenbergs, and like the car I mentioned, the coffin nose cord. A lot of older cars like that. I know of them, and I've seen them tons of times at car shows. But to me personally, they don't interest me a lot. I understand and respect the lineage and the heritage, and that cars like that brought automotive-dom into the modern age, right? I don't necessarily want to like know more about them. They just don't interest me. The things that do interest me are things from like the 70s, 80s, 90s, and above, because again, that's more around when I was born. I was born in 1984. Today I'm 41 years old. Do the math. It's pretty easy. Either way, I would probably, and this is an interesting topic to do off the top of my head, because now I'm starting to think of like things that, what are the things that are cool that we could bring back? Chad mentioned AMC. That would be a very interesting nameplate to bring back, because that was a nameplate where, oh God, there's so many bugs in my garage right now. And it wasn't even like crazy hot either. It's just the light. But AMC is an interesting one because that was such a cool car company in the sense that like they offered just like different things that weren't offered by other car companies. Like the Gremlin, like wasn't really like the best selling car. But again, I'm also attracted to weird and interesting. That's why if I was given the money, I would be like, ooh, Lotus. Yeah, give me that. 911, cool, I'd buy that. But the Lotus, yeah. Like most people don't do that. Most people just be like, oh, 911. That's a great car. I'm gonna go buy that. That's the sports car benchmark. When I would be over there just like, yeah, that's cool. But that Lotus Emira, kind of cooler. It's also weird in a way that is not, the 911 isn't weird. So that's for me. Like off the top of my head, an era that I really wish that I lived through is the muscle car era. I'm really getting into modern muscle cars. And I don't know if it's just because I'm getting like relationship goggles or beer goggles of them being discontinued now. And I know that we still have like the Dodge Charger and we still have the Mustang, but I'm talking like the Challenger and the Charger that were just like discontinued and they were sort of combined into the one car and made an EV, whatever. But like I really love the Challenger, the wide body Challenger, the modern one. God, I see them on the road and I'm just like, I want to sell everything and just get one of those. I really do. And we'll be a one car family. We'll just own a Challenger. Like that's what I want to do. That's my new obsession currently. But I really wish I lived through the muscle car era of like the late 60s into like the late 70s, just because there's so many cool muscle cars that, to the point we were making earlier, a lot of them did look similar, but there was just so much personality and so much like customization that you could do to make them, and so much individuality for each of those cars. Like the one I would really like to bring back is the Chevelle or the Nova or the Grand Chad's gonna the GTO, or I feel like there's another Pontiac that I'm forgetting. Again, I don't really know a ton about muscle cars, but those are probably the cars that I would bring back. Personally, I would love to see, because Chevy has continued a performance lineage, I would love to see like a new Chevy Nova or a new Chevy Chevelle or something like that. Like that would be really cool to me. I guess another one in the lines of Chevy to be more like luxurious, or a nameplate or a car, would be like the Chevy Bel Air. As like my profession is a writer, the name Bel Air just rolls off the tongue so nicely. The Chevrolet Bel Air. It sounds upscale. It sounds snooty. It sounds like I'm very important. Like that to me, like I love that. I'd love to see the Bel Air brought back. I think something like that. And one of the more modern things I guess I could say that I had in the 80s is some of the mini trucks, the Mazda B series pickup trucks. Excuse me. I forget what the small Toyota was called. That wasn't, I don't think it was I'm not, Chad would know. And I don't have chat up where he might be in actually answering me. Where is Chad? Where is chat? I'm going back to chat and see some of what you guys said. Hello, Andrew. Good to see you. Let's see. You guys had said Mercury Cougar. That's a good shout. Chevrolet Monte Carlo, the Vega. Those kind of cars. That actually those are really good options as well. So yeah, things like that. I think those would be really cool cars to bring back. I'm just going to bring this up just a little bit. I think I'm a little low. Yeah, that muscle car era, I think would be really, really cool to bring back. I think the coffin nose cord had the Chevy Love. Yeah, exactly, Sean. The Chevy Love would be good. I think. Yeah, but yeah, the mini trucks, like the Mazda B series truck, the small Toyota. Um, those sort of small, interesting, highly customizable mini trucks would be really awesome to bring back. That would be a lot of fun to see. I think those are probably my best answers. I think if I had to do this in the sports car category, I would love to see Porsche remake some of their cooler cars, in the sense of it's not just like another 911 variant or another Panamera variant, like an actual car and not a take in. Like remake the 928, remake the 944. Those would be really sweet, like a front engine two-door V8 sports car from from Porsche would be like biblical. That would be so cool. Um what else? What else? Excuse me, I'm really tired. I'm old now, so I'm exhausted. Um yeah, I mean, those would probably be my answers just off the top of my head. I'd really have to think about it more. Um, but also, I guess maybe one last category while Chad's still out is if you're talking about old cars, like old cars, in that sense, in the like the Duesenberg sense, there is a there's a car named the Delaye, that is one of the most, in my opinion. This is me. I don't like old cars; they don't interest me. One of the most beautiful cars ever made is called the Delaye, and um, a remake of that would be extremely interesting because I would love to see what a modern take on that would be. Um, so yeah, those are my choices, and I am sticking to them. I think that those would be very worthy of a remake, a modern remake. Um, I see Chad has returned, but he's not he's not plugged in as of yet. He's messaging. I don't know if it's to me or someone else, but Chad, did you hear any of my options by any chance? You're muted still, sir.
I'm sure it was a Volvo, a Saab.
No, actually, literally none of those were mentioned. Well, my choices were, and I was saying how I would love to. Um, oh, those nameplates survived into my life.
Well,
So,
no, it was like I get where Andrew was coming from, but like the Cougar
Andrew.
name,
Oh,
the
I thought you
Monte
were talking about the ones that
Carlo.
I talked about. No, no, no.
No,
So I had,
I was just busting chops.
oh, gotcha. Yeah, so I had said some of like the muscle car nameplates. So like the GTO, the Chevy Chevelle, the Chevy.
GTO's nameplate was brought back in our lifetime,
That's true. Actually, you're right.
but the
I completely
Chevelle,
forgot about that.
the
The,
Chevelle is a good one.
yeah, but
The
like,
Cuda,
yeah, like the CUDA, like cars from that era that died in that era. I would love to see that have a revival, just because it's an era that I wish I lived through because of how the customization, the individuality of those cars, like you can kind of make it your own, the tuning aspect of it, like it just seems really interesting to me as a car
the tuning
enthusiast.
aspect. It's like no laptops required. Just throw a big ass carb on it.
Right. Yeah. But you're also messing around with like fuel injection and like building the motor, not necessarily slapping a turbo on it and being like, go. Here's the go juice.
Yes,
Like
back in the day when if you wanted more power, to hell with your boost. We're just gonna
yes.
make the engine bigger.
Right. Like that. Like that's to me that's something I've never experienced. So like I would love to live through an era where that was thing. So I would love to see a nameplate like that brought back. Then
Speaking
I
of the
said,
CUDA, not to get sidetracked,
yeah,
but
yeah.
I think bringing back the CUDA name is a phenomenal way for Mopar to reintroduce the V8s into their automotive lineup
That would be
because of
very
just
cool.
how much damage the current Charger Challenger
Yeah.
has done to that. So if
Yeah.
it's like a CUDA and it doesn't look anything like those,
Hemi Cuda sounds real good right now.
yep.
Yeah. Then I said, and I think this actually goes against your rules as well, but like some of the mini trucks that happened in like the late 70s, early 80s from like Toyota and Mazda and stuff like that. I think they survived into like the late 80s. I don't know actually when they actually got discontinued.
Sean said the
But
Chevy Love.
well, yeah, the Chevy, right? Chevy Love. It's like some of those older mini trucks I think would be really cool to bring back, just because I think we're having sort of like a mini truck revival with the Maverick and the Santa Cruz. Like I'd like to see more of them. I think that'd be good. That'd be good. And then lastly, I thought about some older cars. Like, do you remember the Delahaye by any chance?
Uh,
It's
it's
one of the most beautiful cars ever made, and I don't like old cars. Like to me, that's just like I forget how to pronounce. I forget how to spell it. It's like Delayyahe or something like that. Something crazy. It's some crazy spelling.
Delahaye.
Yeah,
Of course,
yeah.
it's fucking
I
French.
I had the letters. I just had no idea. But to me, that's like one of the most beautiful cars ever made. Like it's the swooping lines. It's just gorgeous. But it's very that era. Like they all had those swooping lines. I just felt like that one was just very beautiful in the sense that
swoopiest.
I've only seen one of them ever in person, and I think I was lucky to see it in person at all. But like that nameplate would be cool to bring back. Is like, what is it? You know, that nameplate. Ooh, it's a new car called the Delahaye. Like that's a very important sounding car. Oh, and then I also said the Bel Air, just keeping with the Chevy theme. So it was just like the Chevrolet Bel Air. It just sounds very important. Like I'm an upper management person. I drive a Bel Air. Like it just sounds like a cool car. Like I would want the Bel Air to come back too. Now you do the same thing because I also need to do the exact thing that you did. So I shall return.
Fantastic. I'm very much. Oh, Greg froze. Oh, there he goes. I'm very much in the muscle car camp. You know, some of the old AMCs. You know, like a shoebox Chevy would be cool to see come back. Sorry, chat. Oh shit. Ugh. Oh, I don't know. Allergies or congestion is starting to smoke me. At any rate, I always thought the Barracuda is, as much as I love my Mustangs, Corvettes, all that, the Barracuda was just the styling of it. It was just perfection in every way, shape, or form. You know, they look so good. If you could somehow figure out a way, if Mopar's proven that they can do retro modern really, really well. I don't know if any of those people are still on staff, unfortunately, but they've already proven that they can do that really, really, really well with the Challenger specifically. I would love to see a modern interpretation, but staying true to those lines. You know, the Guild grill. Son of a bitch. The Red Bull was supposed to help with this chat. You know, that quintessential muscle car. Just you put it on a modern chassis. You know, as cool as it would be to stuff like a Hellcat in it. Sort of been there, done that. The Hellcat's almost common. Don't get me wrong, I'd still love to see it. But the Gen 3 Hemi can be punched out to like 7 liters, like 427 cubic inches, I think. At least 426. I know I've seen those. I think the Elephant is 427 cubic inch with a blower on it. Let's see. So it is 426. But I thought it would be cool to see like the top of the range get one of those. So you have a 426 cubic inch Hemi, modern Barracuda, and I mean, you're easily over 600 horsepower with that. Excuse me. You know, which is a butt ton. Just naturally aspirated nastiness. I'd love to see something like that come back. I'll be honest, there's not really anything pre-war that I'm particularly into. Let's see here. Anything from Europe? Not really. I mean, the E-Type as that, not the F-Type, the modern interpretation of it, but like the E-Type with the swooping lines and everything. That'd be really cool to see come back. I mean, they've been evolutions of it, but like the DB5, like that old classics, 50s, 60s European styling, I think would be pretty freaking awesome. Anything that Germans did? I mean, basically anything German, they just sort of renamed. Like you have, yeah, it'd be really cool to see something like the 356 Spider come back, but it's basically a Boxster now, a 708 Boxster. Correctly, BMW before the 80s didn't really make anything of particular beauty, in my opinion. You could say something like the Miura from Lamborghini, or like a 250 Daytona inspired Ferrari. Maserati, not really. Datsun 510. There we go. I can't believe I forgot that one. They did try to bring it back with like the IDX, which I think is Roman numeral 4, which is the Roman numeral for 510 or 510 or whatever the hell they were going for. But imagine like little 3-box modern take on that. Again, we were talking about how like 4-cylinder doesn't really work in the Supra. It would work really, really well in that. That'd be pretty fucking cool to have like a fun sort of unassuming little sports car that maybe you had one that with flared fenders is the hot version. Again, going back to that notion that Greg was talking about before, like everything was super high tuned. If you wanted more power, you put better carbs on it. If you wanted more, you built the engine bigger or something like that. Like just something like that would be new. Would be, again, what's old is new. Would be sort of newish, unique-ish. Sort of the anti-Miata / GR86 that are kind of the same thing. It'd be in a similar vein, but again, different. Like I said, like I can't think of anything pre-war that would hold my interest for any amount of time, big or small. Then let's just sit here in silence and make things awkward for Greg.
Oh, hi.
No, I was saying, like, I'm with you with like the stuff like the CUDA. I think a modern CUDA would be epic. I think if they were able to take the Elephant engine that's 427 cubic or 426 cubic inches, take the supercharger off, give it 11-to-1 compression, that would be a really cool car. You'd be 650 horsepower easy.
Yeah.
With that motor. Like stuff like, I guess like the E-Type technically fits within the rules, but like in that sort of old 50s British styling of swooping lines. The F-Type is a beautiful car in today's era, but it's using today's design language.
Yeah.
Like an E-Type, that super long hood. And then, of course, I said the Datsun 510. I think a modern interpretation of that.
I know you love that car.
would be so epic because like the short version is you have a little 2-door coupe that theoretically you can make a sedan and a wagon out of. Group B was in the 80s, Sean. um, and it would be in the same vein as like the Miata and the BRZ, but it would look different enough. And if you did it right, it'd be a pretty cool thing. Also, hot take: the Group B cars, apart from maybe the Quattro, they don't do it for me.
Yeah,
The performance of them was out of this world and epic, and it was an insane point in motorsports history.
yeah.
Do not get that wrong. But, you know, the RS200 looked weird to me. The Delta Integrale, not the Delta Integrale, the Delta S4 looked just enormous in the rear end.
Yeah, I was gonna say, don't you dare speak ill of the Delta Integrale. that thing is an all timer.
Right. No, the Integrale is
Yeah,
one of... It's on the hot hatch Mount Rushmore, for sure.
100%.
The Stratos people think is beautiful.
Yeah,
Not so much. You know, then you have a long list of French stuff that
I don't know. The Peugeot 205 is pretty badass. To be honest. That's,
I mean, it is, but it's like...
Speaking of hot hatches, like that'd be cool. That was cool. But like I agree with you. There are a few that I'm just like, yes, I'll have that. The Peugeot 205 is cool. I'd have others over it for sure.
I mean, I'll put it to you this way: the Group A era that immediately followed it. You had the Integrale, you had the Escort Cosworth.
Yep. Which was awesome.
I think that's when the Japanese started really getting involved.
Mm-hmm.
Let me just do a quick Googleizing. Let's see here. Don't lie to me, hot cars. Yeah, the Evo came in under Group A. The Subaru WRX, Delta Integrale, like we talked about. Technically speaking, the E30 M3 was a Group A car, even though it was a circuit car. The R32 GTR, the Celica GT4, like we mentioned.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The Nissan Pulsar GTIR, which is a slept-on, then a Citroen of some assortment. Don't care. You know, and that was kind of when I was just starting to get into rally too, which I think, you know, I've always said if I had the chance, I would love to mess around with an Escort Cosworth. Those things, I don't know what it is, but just the way they look.
Mm-hmm. I agree. That was one of the first cars that, as a kid, I saw, and I'm just like, I'm into cars now.
Yeah, it was like...
It's beautiful.
It's... Seeing that as a kid, do you ever see the reels? Like, they pop up every now and again. And it's like people videotaping their kids at like a Hooters or a Twin Peaks or something. And it's this little boy who couldn't be more than like 3-4 years old. And like a waitress walks by and he's like... And then just sits there and stares. And it's like, and at that point, little Jimmy noticed girls.
Yeah.
It was like the Escort Cosworth drives by and it's like, ooh.
And at that point, Gregson noticed cars.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
So
yeah, that's true. That's a great analogy.
You know, but here's the thing: like Group B, for what it was an unhinged era of motorsport, and therefore it will always hold a special place in history because we just don't have that now.
Yeah.
You know, closest thing we get are hill climb cars, time attack cars. The reel I just did, which was way more successful than I thought it would be. I thought it would be kind of niche. So I took an approach with it. So to anyone who doesn't know, I just did a reel on the super modifieds, which are
Super cool.
insane.
Yeah.
800 plus horsepower, 900 plus horsepower. The engine is literally sitting shotgun.
Yeah. I saw that. It's just like that's the epitome of a tank slapper. You're just like, hey, buddy, and just like slap the engine right in the middle of the race. It's like, you're doing great. Keep up the good work.
More power. I mean, they have a sprint car wing that's hooked up to a to struts, and the struts are tuned so perfectly that on the straights, once you hit a certain speed, it folds down. But when you start going slower than that, the tension is such that it pops up and acts like an air brake. Like, they're nuts. All four wheels are different sizes, use different compounds of tire. You know, but they've and it was founded as a no rules racing class.
Mm-hmm.
They've since added rules like that you can't use independent front suspension anymore. You can't do mid-engine. But they're nuts, and around the country's short tracks, there is nothing faster. They're faster than Indy cars. They're faster than NASCAR Cup cars. They are the epitome of turning left. And they're absolutely batshit insane. And then I was thinking about it. It's like, oh, people love this shit because it's unhinged. There's no rules, you know,
Right. 100%
or whatever.
correct.
So I'm going to be doing a follow-up video on that because a lot of people said like, it's not NASCAR. And I'm like, yes, you're right. But I was trying to I didn't realize that it was going to take off like it did.
Yeah.
So I was using broader strokes to paint it.
Yeah.
Because basically I start the video with what would happen if a NASCAR and a Formula One car had a baby? You'd end
Yes.
up with these things.
Yeah.
Yeah, Andrew, it's right up there on the bucket list of cars. Weirdly enough, probably sixth on my list of cars I'd buy money if suddenly money wasn't an issue. Sean goes, the Sierra RS 500 was my favorite. Like, yeah, I mean, the Group A. So here's the funny thing: Group B rallying was unhinged and obviously too dangerous. Died. Then you had Group A come along, and Group A rallying was still pretty damn insane. But it was on the touring car side of things where stuff started getting more and more unhinged.
Mm-hmm.
Under the same list of regulations. It was yeah, that's something we were talking about crossovers and how people look at cars like the appliances now and everything. And I honestly think the fact that most of our motorsports are highly regulated plays a factor in it. There's no innovation. There's no what the hell is that thing? We're not going to see someone show up at Daytona next year with like a Superbird or a Daytona with a crazy arrow and a big ass wing that totally changes people's perception of a sport and everything, or what the design of the car is. We're not going to see Group B anymore. We're not going to all of this stuff like NASCAR spec series, IndyCar spec series, Formula One. Yes, every car is different, but they look the same.
Right.
The engines are the same. Arguably, Formula One's probably one of the biggest growing, even though it's the biggest motorsport in the world. It's growing faster than a lot of others because it's not spec. But I think a lot of that of just everything is so homogenous now, regardless of what you're watching, that there's no more innovation. We've reached a point where innovation is too fast.
Yep.
And, a kid growing up, you watch NASCAR, it's like, oh, it's been the same for 20 years. It hasn't. But it has that vibe.
Yeah. You could make that argument maybe from the early 90s to the mid 2000s, maybe 2005. You could make that argument. It still wasn't the same, but
what boomed NASCAR were the personalities of the drivers.
Mm-hmm.
And we've now reached a point where there's not really great personalities in NASCAR.
Nah.
SVG because of how unconventional he is, in the sense of he's meh on the ovals, but a gilded god on the road courses, is bringing in a lot of interest to NASCAR because he's bucking the trend. He's in a lot of ways the Jeff Gordon of this era. Jeff Gordon wasn't a good old boy, and boy howdy did he hear about it. There's so many cool stories about Earnhardt and Gordon.
Yeah, there really are.
If you go on Unrivaled, it's on YouTube. Someone ripped it and put it on YouTube. The Earnhardt Gordon rivalry is a really cool documentary.
Yeah.
And also, speaking of SVG, they just did the announcement. They're going to be racing at Coronado Air Base, I think, next year, which is a big naval air base in San Diego.
San Diego.
Yes, NASCAR is going to the whale's vagina.
San Diegans. San Diegites. I don't know.
And they did this cool, very Top Gun inspired teaser for it. And like at the end of the video, they all have to get in cars and outrun on the road course away from the like base security, base police. And like one of the last things, it's like, why didn't we bring SVG? And I was like, that is great. I love the self-awareness there. I love that.
That is great.
And I do like this concept that they're doing. Like they're doing it on a military base for the Navy's 250th birthday. It's 2 or 3 weekends from America's 250th birthday.
Yeah.
Though I could have swore the Navy came after 1776. Fun fact about the U.S. Navy, it was founded to fight pirates. Not kidding.
I mean, pirates were still a real threat back in 17.
Well, yeah, the Barbary pirates, which were Angola and stuff in northern Africa, and they were state funded. So, like, the governments were like, go pillage.
Yeah.
But I think that's really I love this concept of NASCAR kind of getting out of their comfort zone.
Yeah.
And one of the really interesting things, I was watching an interview with the guy who's like kind of in charge of like finding new tracks or developing like where can we put a street course. He was big with the Chicago race, and he's got a big hand in this San Diego race. Is that they work in what I found really interesting was they work hand in hand with iRacing. So before they had even thought about building the temporary circuit in Chicago, for example, iRacing went out and scanned the layout. So they actually had the surface in a 3D model.
Wow.
And they had the grip level like figured out for. So they were testing the track before it actually was ever built. And they're doing the same thing with so somewhere in iRacing, there's a file for this NASCAR track for the San Diego track that I wish data miners would be like, aha, here it is. Like, obviously
crazy.
it's probably incredibly well protected, and anyone who finds it and uses it is probably going to, serve, death by moonshine, if they do it. But I thought it was
a terrible way to go. Moonshine is awful.
I thought it was really, really cool that they're testing tracks iRacing is a very detailed sim.
Yeah.
But it's effectively a video game. We're a generation who grew up on Gran Turismo and Forza. Like, it's really cool to think that they're now using this technology. The technology has gotten to such a degree that they can test the racetrack in the virtual world long before it's ever actually a thing. That was so cool to me.
That is cool.
But at any rate, there is a third topic today.
The third topic, yes, which is great and actually involves everyone, not just enthusiasts.
And it comes from the great state of Connecticut, of all places.
Connecticut. So
the spiritual home of the American wasp.
Sure, we'll go with that. I don't know if that's true or not. I'm just going to go ahead and say, sure, I agree.
The white
Uh,
Anglo-Saxon Protestants. I mean,
oh, that kind of wasp.
yes.
I have 2 young kids. My mind immediately went to bugs.
No, no, not the bug.
It just gives you a mentality check of like where I am mentally. It's like, oh, wasps. Oh, interesting thing about the bug. No, this comes from Connecticut, and a quick precursor to this. Back when Drive Tribe had a website, I wrote an article on there about Las Vegas or Nevada. I think it was Nevada. It's actually one of the most upvoted links ever on our cars. If you go to our cars, I think it's still in like the top 20. And it said like Nevada to pass a law about left lane sitters, and it was going to be a thing. And apparently now this is something that Connecticut is doing, because the title of this, and this is from the CT Mirror, this is from no automotive journal, this is literally from the CT Mirror, the Connecticut Mirror. Tired of slow drivers in the left lane? A new law targets camping in Connecticut. So basically, starting October 1st of 2026, so next October, not this coming one, a new law will allow police to ticket drivers who camp in the passing lane without actively passing another vehicle, which, as someone who lives in New Jersey and has to drive through Pennsylvania sometimes, that is an utterly amazing law, because the amount of people that camp in the left lane in New Jersey, but also Pennsylvania, where Route 80 is 2 lanes for the entire fucking state.
I've had to pass someone on the shoulder on
Yes.
Route 80 in Pennsylvania because
Yes, same.
fuckers can't drive.
It's obnoxious. But even in New Jersey, there's like 3 or 4 lanes. People in the left lane still doing 65. And I'm like, that's not the speed limit that you should be doing in this state in that lane.
80
Go over
on
there.
80. It's a thing. Look at it.
Yeah, 80 on it. But it's also like the safest thing to do is also to pace with traffic at that point, not slow them down and become a moving chicane. Like this is so stupid. So basically what this law is going to do is basically if cops are on the road and they see you just chilling there 70 miles an hour, 65 miles an hour, and you're not actively passing someone and you're basically going the speed limit, they're going to pull you over and give you a ticket, which should be a law in every freaking state. And I don't drive crazy fast on the highway. I don't need to. I do 75, 80 miles an hour, depending on the pace of play. Sometimes I'll do 85, but it's how the traffic is flowing. If everyone's doing 85 and it's safe to do that, then do that. Because if you're doing 75 or 70 when everyone else is going crazy fast, you're a hazard. Move over. Like, if you're doing 65 and everyone else is doing 65, cool. That's fine, because everyone else is doing that speed. But if you're doing 65 and everyone else is doing 80, 85, that's unsafe. And you should be ticketed for that. So I'm super glad Connecticut is doing this. I go through Connecticut a couple times a year because I have family up in Maine. We're going to do that trip in a couple of weeks. And sometimes I will just go to Connecticut for car stuff or whatever. It's awful driving through that state because people in Connecticut, just like Massachusetts, have zero idea how to drive.
Suddenly the Merritt Parkway just got more interesting.
Yes, very much so. So, I mean, if you've ever driven on the Merritt Parkway, it's basically a racetrack as it is. It's going to be even more so now. So, yeah, I mean, I very much applaud this law. Again, not because I go insane speeds on the highway, but just because, like, even going the speed limit on a highway that's that wide and that big in the left lane, it's just not safe. Period. You got to pay. You got to pace with traffic.
Oh, here's the bottom line. If you want to get absolutely technical, every state already has this law. In that, on any interstate, the law is the right lane is for individuals speed limit and below, or who are turning off on an exit, who are slowing down, by the way.
Yeah.
Middle lane, speed limit, maybe a touch more. And that's where the bulk of traffic should be, is in the middle lane. The left lane is the passing lane.
Yes.
technically speaking, if you are not passing, shouldn't
Get
be in
out.
that lane.
Go away.
So if you're just sort of sitting there and people are passing you on the right, you're not using a lane the way it was supposed to be used. So technically
Correct.
that is illegal. It's just not enforced because most state governments have it in their head that going slow is safer than going fast,
Yeah.
which on it, the face of it is correct. But if you're going 10, 15 miles an hour slower than everybody behind you, you are a hazard. You are now you're driving in an unpredictable
Unpredictable.
words, unpredictable fashion, and you're a danger. And this also brings up the fact that this has been a law in the Autobahn for decades. If you are just sitting in the left lane, you get a pretty hefty fine on the Nürburgring. If you do not pull over for someone who's going faster than you on the the Autobahn,
Autobahn, yeah.
in the left lane, you will get a ticket.
Good. The way it should be. The way God intended it.
You know, again, we're not sitting here saying that we advocate for people driving 120, 130 miles an hour on public roads.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, most people in the left lane are at bare minimum doing 10 over. And that is accepted by most local governments or state governments as a safe methodology. Because frankly, if it was all 65, traffic would become kind of a problem.
Yeah.
And it also creates distance between cars as opposed
Correct.
to what you see. For example, super speedway racing in NASCAR, right? Everybody's going the same speed. One car wiggles. And if they don't hit anyone, 3, 4, 5 cars behind it, big pileup.
Yep. 100%.
So I applaud Connecticut. I applaud this forward thinking. I applaud that people are actually applying common sense and not listening to the loudest squeaky voice of, oh, 65 miles an hour is it's much more fuel efficient to drive 55. You shouldn't be speeding. You shouldn't be this. You shouldn't be. And it might be an individual who doesn't spend hardly any time at all on an interstate. Frankly, I don't spend a lot of time on interstates. If I'm being perfectly honest, not anymore. Well, I'm not going to sit here and tell people,
Yeah.
this is the way it should be, right? Like, so again, I'll echo you. More state governments should be thinking this. Frankly, they're interstates. There's a funding with them, national funding for their maintenance and upkeep, etc. They are literally called interstates for a reason. And I'm all for states' rights, and I don't mean to get overly political, but frankly, this should be federal law.
Yeah.
That if you are going and not passing, so let's say theoretically the speed limit's 65, it's 75 in some states, and I think even 80 in some other places, which absolutely should be in non-high density or high population density areas. But if you're doing the speed limit in the left lane, by definition, you are not passing. You are going the same speed as everybody else, and you're breaking the law. And you should get a ticket. And if you do it more than 3 times, you serve 6 months community service at a car wash. Because it's just. So Greg, I'll tell you this: I live relatively close to the Pennsylvania border, and there's been this mass exodus where we live. So Route 80 will take you right into New York City, and as Route 80 was being built, there's this thing we call the Route 80 corridor. So if you look, the older neighborhoods are closer to New York, but as you get all the way now out into Pennsylvania, there's people who commute into eastern New Jersey, even New York City. There's been this migration out there. And these people who've migrated out there, I don't know what happened. Whether it be their second generation or whatever, but they have lost complete sense of speed limits and driving on a highway. And these Pennsylvania, there is a toll to leave New Jersey. I think the toll should be to leave Pennsylvania and come into my fucking state. Because they just sit there and they don't drive. I got to go and find the video. It's been harder and harder to find because it's an old one. But it's literally a Pennsylvania driver in the left lane, hogging the left lane, not moving, camping like a moron. And a New Jersey state trooper pulling up, getting behind them, turning the lights on, escorting them into the middle lane, and then escorting them into the right lane, and then driving away.
Yeah, I think I've seen that video. That's so good.
Like I said, 80 on 80 is a thing.
Yeah, it
in
is.
this state.
It should be.
You know, and I'll sort of end it with this. It's like, and not for nothing, I get it on your beltways, or if you're approaching, say, a major metropolitan area like New York City or Boston or Philly or whatever.
Yeah.
But out in the sticks,
yeah,
out like where I live, speed limit should be 80.
Yeah. Agreed.
65 was set up because they wanted a certain braking distance, and 65 was the max speed you could go, and still most cars could achieve that. Well, they did that back in the freaking 60s, 50s and 60s. Technically speaking, most modern cars, they don't have to be sports cars or fun cars, to achieve the same braking distance could be knocking on the door of 100 miles an hour.
Very much, yes.
Now, that being said, I don't think we should be having the average person doing 100 miles an hour because I doubt they could handle it.
Also correct.
So, no,
Very
kudos to Connecticut. I may actually set foot in your state at some point. Maybe.
Mohegan Sun, maybe.
No, I'm going... I still want to go straight to New Haven, which is supposedly the pizza capital of America.
Yeah.
And therefore the world.
Yeah. One bite, everyone knows the rules, except for when I take the bite, and it's 5 bites. Or an entire
it's
slice.
become part of the shtick. It's like us reviewing a car. 1 mile, everybody knows the rules.
Yeah.
Although a 1 mile review might be not a terrible thing.
Yeah.
No, I still want to do that. I still want to go, do cheesesteak. I have a bunch of ideas. I would just like to do it in a not Equinox.
Yeah.
So. How's it going, bud?
Oh, I'm tired now. I'm old now. I'm exhausted.
It's been a day. And for you, I got to imagine it's been a very long day.
It's been a very long day.
So I do think, just real quick, I do want to touch on, Sean was thinking about road tripping Timmy, which, let's get Timmy running before we start thinking about driving it to Colorado.
Yes.
Clean him up a little bit. And then he goes, now I'm imagining German police ring flying up behind people and hopped up cars and giving them tickets for not matching their cars' lap records on the ring. A beautiful mind, Sean. A very beautiful mind. But on that note, I think this is a good spot to call it for the evening. And a little bit earlier, just so Greg has a little bit more time to enjoy his birthday, whatever else that may entail for the evening.
It involves a shower and going to bed. I'm not. Washing this glass, showering, and going to sleep because I'm exhausted.
I mean, it is your birthday.
Giggity, giggity.
Yeah.
I love that I have a soundboard now. The only bad thing is you can't hear it.
Yeah, that's true. I cannot hear it.
If only I guess, figure out a way to get you into Discord at some point. Yeah. But on that note, once again, happy birthday, Greg. I hope you have a great day. I hope you have a great week.
Thanks, dude.
Show's been great. It's been great to have you back. Thank you to everyone in chat, to everybody who stopped by and watched. Facebook, just letting you know, YouTube is kicking your ass in views.
Yeah, sure is.
Y'all need to fix that.
That's right.
But on that note, Greg, give us your 41-year-old dad advice for the day.
Yes. So I've actually written this one down. So I'm going to my tab. You know the old phrase of "it's not where you go, it's where you've been." Well, I think that there's a better one that can be modernized for our generation, and that is, it's not where you go, but it's what you want to do when you get there. So think about that. Think about the journey and think about what you want to do when you get to the place that you want to be. The end. Dad advice.
And on that note, we'll see you guys next week. Have a beautiful